Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to Reading Again with me. Our learning intention today is the same as yesterday's. It is to make a picture or a mental image. So we are looking at it's a visualizing strategy, a comprehension strategy. Because remember, if we can make a movie in our mind, if we can create pictures in our mind, and be visual artists, it helps us remember the details more clearly, and we can rewind our movie and look back on those pictures, and it helps us with our overall understanding and comprehension. So our task today is you're going to be watching to watch the video to listen to Miss Harkins read the rest of chapter 2, which is what you are doing now. So tick, we're going to read the rest of the chapter in a minute. Whilst we're reading the chapter, my job's going to be, I'm going to be looking for any keywords or phrases that help me visualize and make that mental image. So I'm going to be looking for the keywords or phrases that help me visualize and make that mental image. When I find those keywords or those phrases, I'm going to write those down, and then I'm going to share those with you as an example. You're then going to be reading your own book, your Good Fit chapter book. And when you're reading your Good Fit chapter book, you're going to do exactly the same thing that I've done reading The Witches, okay? You're going to find and then write down any keywords or phrases that are helping you visualize and make a mental image. So we're looking for descriptive words. How has the author described what is happening? So that descriptive language then helps us visualize, and it helps us make that picture, that mental image, that movie in our mind. Okay, and remembering, when we are able to make mental images in our mind, when we're able to make those pictures, we can rewind those, and it's like we rewind the movie in our head. Okay, and it helps us understand more of what we're reading and comprehend more of what we're reading. Okay, so let's get on with the rest of chapter 2. The very next day, in order that we might both try to forget our great sadness, my grandmother started telling me stories. I know I read this part yesterday, but I'm just going to back it up and reread it again. She was a wonderful storyteller. I was enthralled by everything she told me, but I didn't become really excited until she got to the subject of witches. So I'm just looking at the two words really excited. So I'm imagining now that the character's really excited when the subject of witches has come up. So I'm going to put that on my list. So I'm just going to put key. I need to turn key words and phrases from chapter 2. 1. It was excited. Oh, now I've got to. Excited. It was really excited. Actually, I'm going to go, oops, 1. I didn't become really excited until she got onto the subject of witches. So in my mind, I can see this character that when is sitting there and then the subject of witches come up and the character in my mind is becoming really excited. Okay, so that's our first one. She was apparently, I'll move myself again. There we go. She was apparently a great expert on these creatures, and she made it very clear to me that her witch stories, unlike most of the others, were not imaginary tales. They were all true. They were the gospel truth. They were history. Everything she was telling me about witches had actually happened. I had better believe it. What was worse, what was far, far worse, was that witches were still with us. They were all around us, and I had better believe that too. So here the phrase, they were all around us, and the author is talking about witches. So I'm imagining witches being all around normal people, things that look like normal people that are all around us are actually witches. So I'm going to add that to my list. I'm going to put number 2. They were all around us. So the author has described that the witches, using descriptive language, that they were all around us, that phrase. So in my mind, I'm imagining, I can see that in that movie I'm making has now got witches all around. They were all around us, and I had better believe that too. Are you really being truthful, Grandmama? Really and truly truthful? My darling, she said, you won't last long in this world if you don't know how to spot a witch when you see one. But you told me witches look like ordinary women, Grandmama. So how can I spot them? So hear the word ordinary women. So now I'm imagining an ordinary woman that the grandchild thinks that witches look like ordinary women at this stage. So I'm going to add that to my list. Ordinary women, because in my mind at the moment I'm imagining what the child, I can imagine that child in the story thinks that witches look like ordinary women, just plain women. So that descriptive phrase has helped me imagine what witches look like. Sorry, I'm finding it hard to find where we're up to on here. But you told me that witches look like ordinary women, Grandmama. So how can I spot them? You must listen to me, my grandmother said. Oh, so this phrase here, you must listen to me. So that's I can see in my mind that the child is listening. I can imagine, I can see this picture of the child listening in. You know, when you lean in, when you want to hear something really good. You must listen to me. My grandmother said, "You must remember everything I tell you. After that, all you can do is cross your heart and pray to heaven and hope for the best." We were in the big living room of her house in Oslo. Oh, here. So we were in the big living room. So it's helping me imagine these two characters. The author has told me where they are. They are sitting in a big living room. So we were in a big living room. We were in a big living room of her house in Oslo, and I was ready for bed. Okay, so this phrase here, I was ready for bed. So if a child is ready for bed, quite often, what will they have on? Yes, they'll have their pajamas on, and they might have wet hair because they just had a shower or a bath. So I'm imagining this character in pajamas with wet hair. And the author helped me do that from this phrase, I was ready for bed. So I was ready for bed. So in my mind, I've been able to create an image with this child with pajamas on and wet hair because the author has told me that the character was ready for bed. So that phrase there has helped me. I've lost where I am up to again. The curtains were never drawn in that house, and through the windows I could see huge snowflakes falling slowly on an outside world that was as black as tar. I love these phrases here. The curtains were never drawn, so I can visualize these open curtains. So I will add these to my list, but I'm just going to talk about them first. And through the windows, I could see huge snowflakes falling slowly. So I'm imagining that I'm the character looking through these windows to an outside world that was as black as tar. So I can imagine being the character looking through these big windows with these big open curtains to a big black sky with these beautiful big snowflakes falling. I'm going to add those phrases to my list and put them up for you to have a look at, but I just want to I want to try and read the end of the story before I run out of time. My grandmother was tremendously old and wrinkled. Oh, I just love that phrase. I'll add that one on too. Tremendously old and wrinkled. So tremendously, really well, old and wrinkled, lots and lots of wrinkles. Very, very old. That's helped me visualize this old person with a massive wide body which was smothered in grey lace. So a big, wide, old lady with lots of wrinkles. She sat there majestic in her armchair. So this phrase here again, she sat there majestic in her armchair. So I can imagine this old lady sitting down in this armchair. These are fabulous descriptive phrases Roald Dahl has used. Finding every inch of it, not even a mouse could have squeezed in to fit beside her. I myself, just 7 years old, was crouched on the floor of her feet, wearing pajamas, dressing gowns, and slippers. "You swear you aren't pulling my leg?" I kept saying to her. "You swear you aren't just pretending?" "Listen," she said. "I have known no less than 5 children who have simply vanished off the face of this earth, never to be seen again. The witches took them." "I still think you're just trying to frighten me," I said.